And today's coaching clinic is all about living in joy. So I really want to pay homage, if that's the word, to any of you that have just been living in worry and stressful thinking and anxiety and all of that, because that kind of does build a yearning for wanting joy, but it's not a particularly pleasant place to live. I was exploring with a client earlier that the only difference between her and I was not that I didn't suffer anxiety and stressful thinking. It was just that I was less afraid of it nowadays than she was. And there's something about that that's really helpful, you know, when we're not afraid of our feelings. And so when we're not afraid of our feelings, we can very easily and quickly go from stressful, worried, anxious thinking to living in joy. It's like literally one thought away. But when you're not there and you're not living in joy and your experience is scary to you, then what we do today will be very helpful. Will really support you in being able to find the joy again. So let's start with the meditation. We call this meditation Finding Joy. And so just close your eyes and place your feet on the floor. Turn off any distractions. If you have any distractions that you need to just sort of close off now, just do that as we go into this meditation. So with our eyes closed, as usual, I want you to imagine roots coming from your feet, down through the ground, right down through the underground, and all the way down to a rock at the bottom of the earth, and wrap those roots around that rock. This rock holds your divine nature. And so from this rock, I want you to see golden light. And this light is emanating from the rock, up through the roots, through the underground, the ground, the floorboards, and up to your feet. And see this golden light now circling your feet. And just let it be there for a few moments as you begin to breathe more deeply. The breathing sequence that I find most helpful is in through the nose, 2, 3, 4, and out through the nose or the mouth, 2, 3, 4. Bring yourself into this moment using your breath. And set your intention now that you will connect to the thing that would awaken most joy for you. That you will connect through this meditation or beyond to your living in more joy. Our intention, remember, is like a prayer. It's a yearning. It's a declaration. And I want you to set another intention, which is that you won't judge what you hear or see. Because the ego mind will be quite happy to dismiss your wisdom around joy, and the ego mind will be quite quick to judge it. So really, it's almost like a double prayer. The second intention is you intending to not judge. what you hear or see or feel as we go through this. So using the breath now, in, 2, 3, 4, and out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4, and out, 2, 3, 4. See this golden light now coming up through your feet, up through the ankles, through the calves and the shins and the kneecaps, up through the thighs, up into the hips, through the stomach area, through the ribs, up into the heart area, right up to the shoulders and the neck, through the face, all the way up through the head and out through the hair, and down through the shoulders again, and down through the arms, and down through the elbows and the lower arms and the wrists, and out through the hands, and finally out through the fingered nails. See this golden light enveloping you. And I want you to imagine someone you trust just holding a jug a couple of inches above your head. And they're going to pour this elixir of light down through the head, the face, the neck, the chest, the core, the tummy, the hips, down through your legs, your kneecaps, your shins, your ankles, your feet. So the whole body is immersed in this beautiful elixir of light. Letting yourself just be in the feeling of light. Connecting or reconnecting to a light heart, a lighter way of being, a lighter way of seeing. And from your heart center now, I want you to see a cord, a fine little cord extending out into the world. And this cord, just follow it. Follow it along and see where it takes you. See where the cord runs to. Don't judge it, but wherever it's taking you, let it take you rather than you take it. So often we think that we know what gives us joy and we go back to what used to work or what once gave us joy. When in fact, our joy is fresh in any moment. We have to let life take us to that experience of joy. In this moment, just let that cord take you to whatever or wherever it wants to go. So as you follow the cord along, just see where it ends up without any judgment or any opinion. It might end up somewhere that just makes you laugh. That's fine too. Doesn't have to have any meaning. But just notice where it takes you. And now once again, see a cord coming from the top of your head this time. Once again, surrender, relax, and let it take you somewhere. It's extending upwards. Just follow along and notice any image or feeling or word that comes to you as this cord leads you. Again, without any judgment or any opinion. And then let's see from the roots of our feet, the cord coming from our feet this time down into the earth. Just see where the cord takes you as you follow it down into the earth. Any image you arrive at, any idea you notice. These are the cords of passion. You might be surprised what you are discovering could elicit passion or joy for you. May not make sense to the intellect, but you can interpret any image yourself or any clarity, just knowing that these chords of passion, these chords of joy are available to connect with. Now let's take it a step deeper. Imagine in your mind's eye a beautiful pathway that you begin to walk along. This time, let the path lead you to an image, a scene, or a picture of some sort. Notice where the path takes you. And as you arrive there, just take your time and just be in it. Usually the path to joy is so much simpler. when we're not making up what we need in order to feel joy. Our false needs drop away, and instead we're just led to joy. A great joy is coming your way, and it's coming this time to stay. A great joy is coming your way, and it's coming this time to stay. A great joy is coming your way, and it's coming this time to stay. Let go of any idea that joy is something you have to get to or to reach or to manufacture. And begin to embrace the truth that joy is your natural state when not lost in a mind that's going crazy about the past, about the future, about worry, about relationships, about money, about whatever. That you are joy. And sometimes there is something that helps us remember that, whether it's this meditation, whether it's a book that we read, a film we watch, an adventure we take. So in this moment, let's ask wisdom. Is there anything that could help me elicit the feeling of joy? If you didn't hear anything, and perhaps you would like another chance here, sometimes it's easy to see something rather than hear it. So imagine yourself in front of a lake. And now let's ask the same question and see if any images emerge from the lake for you. Stand by the lake and ask, is there anything that could help me elicit more feelings of joy? Keeping yourself centered, not judging your experience. And if still you didn't get anything, either auditory or visual or clarity, set an intention whilst you're in this moment that you will, in your dream state, receive your answer without any resistance. And you'll wake up knowing if there's anything you need to pursue or look into or follow through with. Now come away from the lake, back onto the path, and let's walk along this beautiful path. Letting the path lead you back to this moment. If it feels right, step into your body or into this moment where you feel yourself sitting on your chair. See roots coming from your feet down through the ground, the underground, right down to a rock at the bottom of the earth, and wrap those roots around that rock. Having yourself grounded, clear, and give thanks in this moment to your wisdom for bringing you and potentially bringing you any clarity that you need. When you feel ready, just open your eyes, come back to the room, write down anything you'd like to write down, do so. And just notice the calm feeling you've dropped into. It's very hard to know. No, let me rephrase that. It's impossible to feel joyful when we're managing or juggling 100 things at once in a day. When our mind is rushing ahead to the next thing. And so just know that just by doing that, just engaging 25 minutes there, which you may not necessarily sit down and do for yourself, but just engaging 25 minutes of connection rather than separation is really helpful to settling down the mind, but also springing back. I have this image of you all springing back into joy. So when we're very anxious and worried and stressed, we really want to see that that is our divine physiology working on our side, giving us incredibly helpful feedback that we're scaring the life out of ourselves. It's hard to feel joy when we're holding a gun to our head. And innocently, without realizing it, as humans, we have a habit of doing that. We have a habit of scaring ourselves, thinking that if we scare ourselves enough, then we'll either be okay and prevent the situation from happening, or we will take action. But what if scaring ourselves is optional? What if scaring ourselves is just a learned thing we picked up along the way. And what if we started taking from our head? I believe we just live lighthearted. We just live more in joy. The only way we can fall out of joy and out of a light heart is when we continuously pay attention to scary thinking. And you can change the word scary for worried thinking or stressful thinking or lack thinking or future thinking. It doesn't matter. The only way we stop living in joy and with a light heart is when we get lost in that noise. And as I was sharing with a client earlier, we don't have control over the thinking that comes into our head. So let's not waste any more effort trying to get better thinking. What we have control over is what we pay attention to. So if I'm feeling anxious a lot of the time, if I'm feeling worried, if I'm feeling sick with stress, if my stomach is closing and my appetite is either slowing down or revving up, then those are beautiful physiological responses, letting me know I'm holding a gun to my head about something. I'm scaring myself about something. I don't need to know what I'm scaring myself about. It doesn't matter. The content is irrelevant. What's relevant in you springing back to joy and, dare I say, living less anxious, what's relevant is that you notice when you're scaring yourself or when you're worrying yourself. And the fastest way to notice is the feeling. Our feelings are wonderful guides, letting us know what's going on inside. I said I would share with you as well just a key, like Francesco teaching me a key to living with a light heart. You know, I've spoken before about how I seem to live a life pursuing well-being, and he just lived there. I seem to always be trying to get to a better feeling state, and he didn't seem to have to do anything to get to a better feeling state. That wasn't because he was enlightened or different to us. It was because he just really didn't care about the noise in his head. He lived lighthearted most of the time because he didn't give a lot of seriousness to life's issues. Now, he was very conscientious. He was extremely interested in the planet, in the environment, in politics. He wasn't ignorant to the world, but he also didn't take it all too seriously. He was able to be more in a place of joy because he wasn't pursuing a better feeling, a different state, a better experience. And what that is it's called presence. And we all have that capacity for presence. And when we enter it, the present moment, we find our joy, our feelings of joy. Now, some of you might have discovered in the meditation that there is something that would help you, or there is a direction that would support you. But I also want you to know that your joy is not dependent on pursuing those things. You know, I shared in the email, it was a real joy for me to get dressed up and go to a party last weekend, and it was a Mexican themed party, and in the midst of all of it, I realized, goodness, I love this sort of thing. I love being able to get dressed up and go somewhere and be amongst these people, and this is wonderful. But I'm not under the illusion that I need to spend a lot of money and dress up a lot and go to glamorous places in order to feel my joy. The thing that happened at that party was I got present. I fell out of the noise in my head and into the moment. Let's open up here. What are you hearing? What's a question? Anything you want to share from your own meditation? Anything you want to hear more about?
Can I come in, Grace, please?
Please do, yeah. Is that Pat?
Hi. Yes, it is. Hi.
Hello, honey.
Hello, darling. I'm sorry, I couldn't get in with the link on the email, so I had to go to
Don't worry
Facebook.
about that.
Yeah, so I missed until I only came in when we were bringing the energy up, but it's funny how I just seem to do it without. So could I just share the meditation? It was wonderful. So the first chord that I was in the stomach, it was like I was holding on, you know, I don't know what it's called. You know, when you're on, there's a boat in front of you and you're holding on to that rope and you're sort of skiing. And it was like I went out where I was and ended up at the sea, and there was nothing in front of me. There was no destination. But I realized this when you said it, there was nowhere to go. It was continuous, just pleasure of which is not something I've ever done. Bless you. So it's not something I've experienced physically, but the wind in my face, the joy I was feeling, the sea, the air, and nothing else was totally amazing. It was just amazing. And then when we did the chord up, again, there wasn't anywhere I saw I went. I just went and I knew I was just rising and there was peace. And then it was really funny because then when we went down into the ground, I was on like a pole, and again, the wind was on me. There was mud going down into the ground, but I was so full of joy and freedom and nothing on my mind. It was just wonderful. And then the path was the same. It was like I was a child. There was no end to the path. There was just pure innocence and joy and skipping. And I just wanted to share it because it was just absolutely beautiful. So I just wanted to say thank you, because I would normally have been looking and making images if the images didn't come. But by not doing anything and letting it take me, I wouldn't have thought on the end of a boat. I wouldn't be down a pole in mud. It just wasn't what my mind would create.
Oh, that's wonderful, Pat. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really a core difference between letting divine inspiration intervene versus using our human intellect to make up what gives us what we need, you know, for joy, for peace, for whatever. So it sounds like you went deep there. And if anybody's listening and they're worried that they didn't get it like that, please do not compare. Everybody's
No.
path is unique and different. But wonderful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
I'm
That's
sneezing
enough.
here. Sorry.
It's all right. Thanks. Thank you.
Anybody else want to share or have a question or want to talk about what they're realizing from what I've been sharing on living in joy? And probably better if you just unmute your line to come on.
I'll say something, Grace.
Oh, hello, Lynn. Go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, it's funny that the topic is joy, because I have joy on the back of my wall here. And I just wanted to say something about the way that you explained that Francesco is living in this space of joy and not really, you know, going down the anxiety and stress way of thinking. And I'm finding that I'm getting more and more like that myself. And more importantly, I'm catching it when I do get caught up in stress and anxiety. I can catch it so much quicker. I can see, I just have this awareness now when it happens that I can like, I can say to myself, oh no, you're going down this whole, you know, rabbit hole of worry and stress, and like, you know, you don't have to be that way, Lynn. That's not how it's meant to be. And I can go quickly, really quickly, back to feeling joyful and just letting life unfold itself as it is, like, you know, in the present moment. And like, I don't get too caught up in the future or what's going to happen tomorrow or next week or next month, or I'm getting more and more better at being present and being less stressed. So, you know, it was a beautiful meditation. It's just a reminder of me of the way that I'm trying to live my life. So thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you very much for sharing that. And it's wonderful to hear the progress, you know, over a period of time, you know, as you're going deeper, as you're listening, as you're just living life, you know, that noise is starting to fall away as you notice it. You know, I was saying to my client earlier, because she was just asking me, well, you know, how do I get out of this anxiety when it happens? I said, you know, it's just going to feel and sound very simple, but it's really about noticing the feeling that you're in. And that's it. You know, who knew it could be that simple? We just notice the feeling we're in, and the feeling begins to dissipate. So yeah, thank you for that. Else want to come on, share, ask a question, have anything they want to say? I was kind of I was going back to some old thinking recently when I was getting caught up in scaring myself. And it looked to me like the reason I was feeling anxious was because Francesco wasn't here anymore, and I won't know what to do. And my dog's really sick and he's going to die eventually soon. And there was lots of external reasons for my anxiousness. But one of the core ones was, well, it's because Francesco's not here. Because I had unknowingly, but somewhat knowingly, pinned a lot of my feelings of well-being, my feelings of joy on having him in my life. And how many of us do that when we're in relationships? I mean, I don't think we'd stay in a relationship if there wasn't some element of that. But I had pinned a lot of my good feelings are because he's with me. And on some level, I knew I was making that up. But the moment I would get anxious and the feelings of anxiety would come, I would say to myself, you see, this is evidence that, you know, it is a problem that he's not here anymore and physically. And it is, anyway, I had a lot of evidence physically.
We can't hear you, Grace. We've lost your audio.
Oh, really? Haven't done anything different. Is it back?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh,
I can hear you also.
Maybe it was at
Yeah.
my end then. Sorry.
Okay, don't worry, Lynn. Okay. So in that anxious feeling, I was telling myself, you see, I didn't get anxiety when I was with him. And that's not true. I did get anxiety when I was with him. But I was really convincing myself that my feelings were not because I was scaring myself. They were because something was missing in my life or something was going to happen, i.e. my dog is going to die. So that was what was running through my head. And then I remembered, you know, like Lynn was saying, just as she's just noticing as she goes along, I remembered, oh, this feeling of anxiety isn't because Francesco's not here. Isn't because your dog's going to die. It's because you're scaring yourself with your thinking again. And this feeling of anxiety is a lovely friend letting you know, Grace, you're scaring yourself with your thinking again. There was something huge about seeing that. There was something really, really helpful about just noticing we can't control our thinking. And in a low mood, our thinking will be anxious, our thinking will be stressed, it will be flavored with worry and future tripping and past regrets. And we can't control that, but we can see that our feelings of anything but joy are letting us know we've got a gun to our head. My world got simpler. Now, instead of trying to bring my partner back from the dead, and instead of trying to save my dog from the inevitable, can you imagine how much effort and stress all of that is? Resisting life's circumstances. Now, instead of trying to do that in order to feel okay, I'm just noticing when I'm scaring myself and when I'm not. So the joy begins to emerge and come back. Our true nature begins to reawaken as we take the gun away from our head. As Lynn said, as we notice what we're doing to ourselves. Anyone else want to comment or share, ask a question? Doesn't even have to be a question in this direction if you don't want it to be.
Hi, Grace.
Robin.
May I? Thank you. Thanks. And sorry I missed most of that meditation, but I got a little bit at the end, so that was helpful too. Grace, are you saying that coming back to the present moment all the time and like stopping any other thinking, I guess is what you're saying? No future, no past, no problems in the present. Sort of staying present is what will always give us joy. It sounds so simple, but and profound, I'm thinking, but is that what you're saying?
Well, I wish I knew how to do that. but essentially, yes, we can experience more joy from the present moment, from being present.
Being present.
And as humans, I still haven't come across any of us who can put a stop to thinking.
Yeah.
So it's not so much about stopping our thinking as much as we were exploring there, Robin. Just noticing the feeling you're in. And the feeling lets you know what you're doing with your mind.
All right. Right.
Like
okay.
I felt such a relief when I heard Sydney Banks saying, we're all schizophrenic. I was like, yes, because actually sometimes I feel totally schizophrenic. Some days I wake up and I hate people, and other days the same people, I'm like, oh, they're so nice. Why was I thinking mean thoughts about them? And with Sydney Banks talking about how schizophrenic we all are, because we're just jumping up and down and all around with our thoughts.
Yeah.
And the difference being that maybe some of us aren't shouting it out loud. Like I used to describe to some of my clients Bob the drunk guy, who I got from a colleague of mine. And Bob the drunk guy is this voice, this man in your head who's always shouting obscenities, a bit like an innocent homeless man on the side of the street. Every city has one. He's usually shouting obscenities. He's usually looking for money. He's usually off his head. But you'd never go to him for advice. You might give him a few dollars, but you'd never go to him for coaching. Well, he is also in our head. He's the one shouting the obscenities and the criticisms and the judgments and the worries and the stresses. And innocently, the mistake we humans make is we have learned to go there and listen carefully. What we haven't been doing is realizing that he's just the schizophrenic part of ourselves. And we don't have to listen to him. And if we're walking down the street, generally, you and I aren't shouting his obscenities, but we are hearing them in our head. So we're not really different to the quote unquote true schizophrenic person who's, you know, really shouting those obscenities in the street. And anyway, there's something relieving about knowing that.
Mm.
Like, we can drive ourselves crazy, but it's what we pay attention to that determines and dictates our experience of life. Does
Super,
that make
thank you.
sense?
Yeah, that does. That helps a lot. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. So you'll all be leaving today's coaching clinic saying that you're one of your friends and mentors and coaches has declared you all schizophrenic, and herself too. Just at this point, and before maybe taking another question, I just want to let you know that myself and my own mentor, Mavis Carn, my friend and mentor, she doesn't really like me to call her a mentor. We're starting a new 4-week course next week on the freedom of self-confidence. It's going to run for 4 consecutive weeks. And it really is a deep look at getting beyond the insecure voice in our head. And I'm particularly interested in sharing about getting beyond the voice that's criticizing your image and criticizing your voice in the world. And if I were to say that another way, what I'd like to share in this program in particular will be a way to help you feel more confident about yourself, your body, and your voice in the world. So that's especially for those of you that want to share, want to be out there sharing, but just get really caught up in the self-consciousness of it all. Or what should I say, and who's going to listen to me, and oh God, I hate my look and I don't know how to present myself. So Mavis is going to share amazing stuff as always, and I'm going to have that particular flavor of just finding the self-confidence to be sharing more of ourselves with the world, rather than getting lost in insecurity and self-consciousness. So if you're interested in that, it's 4 consecutive weeks, £147. We have a page for it that you can sign up on. We start next week. Runs every Thursday, recording included if you can't make it live. And that's the freedom of self-confidence. So that's a little bit about that. Just get in touch with me if you'd like to join. Like to go a bit deeper with that. Is there any more comments, questions before we close? Anything else anybody wants to share?
Hi, Grace.
Hi. Hi, Prowinder. Do you want to share something?
Sorry?
Are you going to share something?
Yeah. No, hello everybody. Great to see you, Grace. Yeah, I just wanted to share, so this weekend, going on from what you said, this weekend was the first weekend I was actually on a dance floor again. And it just felt so good to just be, I mean, it's one of the things that always is so lifting for me. And I love being on, I had basically 3 weddings this weekend. So it wasn't just one, it was literally one after the other. And so different as well. And it's just the energy and the vibration that I personally feel that just gets lifted, no matter what's going on in those moments. There's a insight to freedom for me that comes up, and also just being in that social environment again, and it's funny because it just felt like normal again, and it's not been normal for a year and a half. And being able to, I really relate to what you said in terms of being able to dress up again. And I got into a sari for the first time in a year. There's never been a year and a half that's passed without getting into a sari, and it was just so like lovely to just have that. And just I felt the feeling of, this used to be so normal, and now this is just something that's really, it's been such a lift of the spirit. And there's just so many like layers to that I could go into, that just shifts the energy and the vibration from certain other heavier aspects of life as well.
So true, so true. I'm really glad you got to do that. Looks like we were both doing the same thing at the
Yeah, I
weekend.
saw you as well. And also,
Really good.
the other thing I would like to add to that is the creativity. And it just reminded me, like, even getting ready and just like figuring out, like putting the jewelry and the and it's like we haven't been doing a lot of this, have we? We've just been like going with what we've got. And it was just nice to, I was like, wow, this is like, it's an expression of creativity to like just do these things that sometimes we take as chores.
Yeah. Well, we definitely won't be taking it for granted anymore.
No,
after we've all been in a lockdown for so long.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think I jumped extra on the dance floor this weekend.
Good work, honey. Well, thank you for sharing, everybody. This has been a really lovely session today, and I hope you get the recording and take yourselves through it again at some point. I'll be back with you next week, August 3rd, for the next coaching clinic. See if this link that you now have, I believe this is going to be the link going forward. So we'll see you all next week. Lots of love.
Thank
Bye.
you. Take care.
Bye-bye. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.